Good afternoon and welcome to the special called meeting for Thursday, December the 28th, 2023. If you would please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we call for attendance, please?
Commissioner Witt?
Here.
Commissioner Vowles?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Here.
Mayor Staten?
Here. We have one significant thing on the agenda and some meeting minutes, but before we get to that, I wanted to recognize Chelsea Mills. Chelsea, would you mind to come up to the podium just for a second?
Yep.
Chelsea is going to be our new Director of Finance for the city. And is today your first day, or was it yesterday?
Yesterday was my first day.
All right. I just wanted to have the opportunity to welcome you to the city. We look forward to you serving in that capacity and give you a chance to say a few words if you'd like.
Well, I'm just excited to be here, and I want to learn a lot from Robert. So I'm just excited to learn here. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, and we have an audit presentation from McNeil.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
I'm not used to this mic not being up in my face. Anyway, there's a lot of information in the audit since we went through there, but basically I want to go through the processes. We go through your system documentation, we analyze key processes and controls, and look at risk. And we have to look at risk not just within the city, but outside the city. Kind of like what Moody's does on an external thing. When they do your bond, we look at what could impact you, the regulatory environment, the current economic climate, both locally and regionally, and the other risks on the concentration of taxpayers and other unique factors. We also go through our risk assessment process where we identify the risk, look at the control environment, your control activities, and information and communication. And as I said at the audit committee meeting, the big thing is monitoring. If there's no monitoring, everything you throw out the window. But the management monitoring of all the financial activities is strong, as is it at the commission level. So everything is in good order there. Some of the highlights on the government-wide financial statements, which there's a lot of information here. I could keep us here a week, but I want to hit the high points because there's nothing worse than an accountant that talks too long. But they start on page 35. Your liabilities and deferred inflows on the government-wide statements exceeded deferred outflows by 12.7 million. And then your unrestricted net position with this under the GASB 68 and 75 is 40.2 million, and that's due to the pension liability that you're required to recognize on the book. However, on the business type activities, your net position increased 5.2 million, and very strong there. The net pension liability, I know this has always been a topic of conversation since GASB 68 came out, but the liability for the city, just the primary government, is 54.3 million for the retirement component. Then for your other post-employment benefits liability, was primarily health insurance, is 14.0 million as of June 30th. If you look at that, you can see that your total assets and deferred inflows, just for the government-wide activities, is about 158 million. Including the infrastructure, and then conversely on the other side of the ledger, you can see your total liabilities are about 163 million in the governmental activities, and the bulk of that is some of the bond indebtedness that you've issued on behalf of the component units, Henderson Water Utility, Henderson Power and Light, and then you'll see right at about 68 million of that is the pension and OPEB liabilities. And then this is consistent with other municipalities we audit that participate in the CERS plan. But you can see, looking the net pension liability trend, I show the component units here, Hipples in the red, Henderson Water Utility in the green. You can see how this is kind of changed over the years. It's increased overall from when we first started tracking this about 2017, from about 40.1 million to 54 million. And that trend, I don't know, this has been the 800-pound gorilla the legislature wrestles with every year. And it's something we're going to have to deal with as a community and the municipalities all over the state for the years to come. Your OPEB liability trend, you can see it's been relatively consistent. It hasn't fluctuated too much. It spiked in 2021, and that's primarily when the market factors also affect the computation of that liability. And when the market declined in 2021, they kind of impacted that. The highlights of the general fund, on a positive note, the fund balance increased 3.6 million. Your ending total fund balance was 20.2 million, representing 214 days of expenditures overall, but the unassigned fund balance is 111.1 days, so you're in a very solid financial position in your general fund. Conversely, your fund balance trend and cash balances are 30% of the weight when Moody's does a credit rating on you. And you can see that had a good factor. You've got a very good credit rating of AA3 as of October 10th, 2023. In the Moody's trend, they note the financial position will remain healthy, supported by management's history of conservative budgeting and strong fiscal policies, and that shows up when you look at the budget to actual financial statements. It doesn't hurt to be conservative with your finances, and that shows up in the trends here. But Moody's also talks about the credit strengths, your healthy reserves, moderate tax base being near Evansville, and the strong fund balance policy. You have a fund balance policy where you'll maintain a minimum of 3 months in reserves, and you're well in excess of that. But they note the credit challenges, moderate reliance on the pilot's payment in lieu of taxes from utilities, and that has declined as a percentage of revenue significantly, as said at the audit committee meeting. Over the last few years, your reliance has declined substantially. And then they noticed 2 other factors in there: above average total leverage and fixed cost, and below average resident income and wealth for the Henderson County area. Your governmental funds, which start on page of your report, got these bookmarked here. Bear with my fingers, I don't want to cooperate. On page 37, you can see that you're in a very strong position. You can see of the 20.2 million in fund balance, approximately 9.6 of that is committed or assigned, so that's already been earmarked for certain projects. And then you'll notice under your capital projects fund committed of 75.7 million. That basically represents the cash of the unspent bonds and the amount receivable from the component units for the bonds that you issued on their behalf. Your total governmental revenues are on the following page, on page 39. And you ended the year government-wide with a total fund balance of 96.088 million, again, indicative of very healthy trend. Your budget to actual, you can see that on your budget to actual on page 41. Your revenues were in excess of budget by almost 4 million, 3.9 million. And on the expenditure side, you spent 1.8 million less than you anticipated again. So you had a positive budget variance for the year ended June 30th, 2023. And you can see the fund balance composition of everything. You can see unassigned is about 42% of all the general fund balance. So you've committed most of your surplus. And when you look at your governmental sources of revenue, you can see years ago, if you looked at this, the The payment in lieu of taxes from the utilities, you can see it's about 4% on that graph. It used to be almost a third. And as you put on payroll taxes and the net profit taxes, the insurance tax came about, that became less of a factor in the budget. And you can see your revenue trends for the last 6 years or 5 years. You kind of spiked this year due to some government grants that were received in your governmental funds. And then expenditures also, public safety is probably the biggest part of the expenditures in the governmental side. You can see that increased substantially from 22 to 23, from 14.5 to 17.8. In your expenditures, also, they increased substantially. A lot of that was capital projects that were in there. And then this is probably the most important slide of the whole presentation. You can see that your fund balance dipped from 2018 to 19, but from 2019, you've gone from 8.9 million in fund balance to 20.2 million. So the city's on a very solid financial footing. And as I said earlier, if you look at the days expenditures and fund balance, overall, you've got about 214 days in fund balance. GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, recommends a 60-day level. Financial professionals such as Robert, the rule of thumb, I don't know where it came from, they always say 90 days is what they like to retain. So you can see for the last 10 years, you've been well in excess of that. The proprietary fund, the natural gas and sanitation, those ended on a positive note too. The gas fund has $9.2 million in equity. Not all of that's cash. About $8.8 million of that $9.2 million is in the gas system infrastructure, but there's $2.4 million in liquidity. And then the pension and OPEB liability, which is allocated to the gas fund for the employees there, was $3.5 million at the end of the year. Gas sales remained flat, $20.3 million. However, gas prices decreased in 2023, so you had income from operations as a result of that, $2.1 million versus $1.0 million last year, about a $1.1 million increase. And then also grants were received at $4.2 million that were put into the system primarily for the paper company that came, So your net position was, or change, or net income, as we say in the for-profit sector, was $4.7 million for 2023 versus a loss of $776,000 last year. The sanitation fund, it has a deficit that's been decreasing. It was $1.3 million last year. It's $800,000 this year, so it decreased $500,000. There's $1.3 million in available liquidity in the fund, and there's $4.1 million that has been set aside for landfill closure. And you've got the vast majority of the closure liability of $4.8 million already funded. Sales increased about $500,000, 4.9 from 4.5 billion, and your net income increased. And it's primarily raising the prices at the landfill, and a change in net position of $505,000 versus $51,000 in the previous year. So it's on an upward trend. And you can see the gas fund, the bottom line for the last few years, it's kind of been up and down. That depends. That's a function of how much is transferred out of the gas fund to the governmental fund types. You always have a positive operating income, and sometimes you have after the net income, it may be a deficit due to transferring funds out. But this year, due to the grants that were received, virtually all of that $4.5 million in grant money went into the Pratt Paper project out there to build infrastructure. And you can see the operating trends, as I alluded to earlier on the gas fund, they've kind of been up and down with your operating. You've always had a positive operating income, and you can see, as I alluded to, the years that you haven't, it's been when the transfers exceeded the operating income. In your health insurance, which is probably after personnel and natural gas purchases, your third largest expenditure. In your self-insured, you can see those claims fluctuate year by year, depending on how many people exceed the stop loss. But your claims were probably the highest I think they've ever been in 2019. I think there were 4 or 5 people that exceeded the stop loss that year. But everything else has kind of come back down to earth the last few years. And then again, with the operating income and transfer went backwards there. This is your debt. You can see most of the general obligation bonds have been issued. The green is what the city of Henderson. And you can see after everything shifted, most of the bonds that are out there at the end of 2023 that you issued to save money for the utilities is most of your debt's with the utilities. And you can see this diagram shows how much of your landfill closure costs are already funded. And again, you've got the vast majority when you have to close the landfill. And probably the unfunded portion is approximately equal to what your post-closure liability. They estimate about $40,000 a year once it's closed to monitor the ground wells up there. And other communications, we have to test compliance with grants. And there are a few more grants this year that had to be audited under that, and we had no findings and no recommendations. And Robert and his staff do a very good job. I don't know how they do it, but those grant agreements, if you ever read them, are nebulous. And there's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross in there. They did an excellent job. We also have a governance report we sent to you, and basically it just defines what our responsibilities are, the scope and timing of the audit, and basically what we're required to report if we had any difficulties or significant adjustments, and we had none. I wish I had more audits like this here. With good staff, it makes our job a lot easier. But particularly since we don't make any adjusting entries, that speaks highly for your staff because we only have a handful of clients where we don't make adjustments. So anyway, other than that, the only thing I can say, you're in very solid financial shape. Everything's in good order, and with that, I'll entertain any questions, if any.
If I could, correct me if I'm wrong, the landfill closure, wasn't it about 5 million to start off? We was estimating 5 million. What was it to?
He had it at 4.7 on the survey.
4.7.
Okay, and so, but I'm talking about when we start talking about, where were we at when we first started talking about? Has it went up, the estimate on it?
What we do, we ask for an outside firm to do an engineering estimate on what the closure costs are. I don't remember exceeding 5 million. It's been pretty consistent. It may go up 200,000 one year and back down, but it's been pretty consistent.
Okay.
Yeah, that could change depending on the regulations and the unfunded
But yeah,
mandates.
how everything's going up. I was wondering, has that shifted up even higher now because of the way things is going?
It increased about a couple $100,000
Yeah.
over the previous year, and most of that, I believe, was inflationary.
That discussion probably will come sometime in this calendar year, what we do about the transfer station as well as closure of the existing landfill.
Good question. Do we have any other questions or comments for Mac? Good job.
Well, thank you. I covered a lot of information in a short period of time, but if there's any questions, Robert can probably answer them. If you have any of me, just, you know where to find me.
It looks like we're in pretty
Good job, as always.
solid position. With that, we need a motion to accept the audit reports.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Witt?
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Aye.
Mayor Staten?
Aye. Next up, we have a couple of sets of meeting minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mac.
Happy holidays to you, Mike.
Happy holidays to you guys.
Approve the minutes of the December 12th, 2023 regular meeting and the December 12th, 2023 called work session.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Witt?
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Aye.
Mayor Staten?
Aye. And last on the agenda, before we get to our executive session, we've got two board appointments. These are joint city-county board appointments. The county judge called me a couple of weeks ago. He and I have spoken with the existing members who have had good recommendations from the airport board and wish to continue serving. The county approved these two individuals last week, and we have the opportunity to approve them at this meeting, should it please the commission. The first one on the city-county airport board that would like to extend for another 4-year term is Bill is it Freitag?
Freitag.
Freitag, sorry, I'm so sorry. I have never known how to exactly pronounce that. So Bill Freitag, his renewal date would be January 5th, 2024 for a 4-year term. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any comments, questions, or suggestions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Whitt?
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Aye.
Mayor Staten?
Aye. And the next person on the City County Airport Board, his name is Dick Wam. I think most of us probably know who he is. He wishes to continue a term starting January 5th, 2024 for a period of 4 years. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any comments, questions, suggestions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Whitt?
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Aye.
Mayor Staten?
Aye. Next up, we have need for an executive session.
I move that the commission go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.8101 subsection C for discussion of proposed or pending litigation on behalf of the city of Henderson and pursuant to KRS 61.810 subsection B for the discussion of the sale of real property in the vicinity of US Highway 60 West and Old Fordham Road.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
We are heading into executive session.